Alright, so welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and in this wonderful and exciting tutorial, we're trying to see how to build a very simple app using Flask and then machine learning. Trying to see how to embed a machine learning model into a Flask app. So this is what we're trying to build. So we built one with Streamlit, so let's see how to build the same thing with Flask. So if I come here and I paste in any hash value, I can click on the submit, then it's going to analyze it and then return our result here. As you can see, this is the test supplied, and you can see that has returned our result as MD5 and the various prediction probabilities. Let me make it smaller. Right, the various prediction probabilities for them. So the reason it was MD5 is that it's having the highest prediction probability. Moreover, the app also gives you the option of working with name that hash model, and with name that hash we saw the result to be MD5, right? Very simple. So let's see how to build this wonderful and simple app using Flask. So going back again from scratch, I go back to my workspace. So this is the app that is running. I'm going to create another one, move out from this place. If I come back again, I'm going to create a folder called hash ID Flask app. Then I'll move into my hash ID Flask app. There's nothing there, so I'm going to create some two files. So I'm going to create my first file, app.py file, and I'm going to create a directory called models and another directory called template to store my HTML file. Right, perfect. So let's check it out. If I go with tree, we have this particular option. So we have the app, which is going to be the main backend. We have the models, which is going to contain our models, and we have the template, which is going to contain our HTML. So let's open it with Sublime and let's start writing some code. So there's the app, there's nothing there. So in case you want to work with the app, you have to first of all install Flask. So in case you don't have, you can just go with pip install Flask, and then you also be using joblib to help us with some of the serialization of the model. We will also be working with scikit-learn in case you don't have it on the system. So these are the two main stuff: Flask, joblib, and then scikit-learn. So these are the most important thing we'll be doing. And we also have name that hash, or you can also call it name that hash. So these are the two main, these are the packages that we need to run this particular app. Perfect. So let's go back again and start writing some Flask code. So I'm going to write my main app. So from Flask, import the Flask model, and then I'm going to import a URL4 to help us with our route, and then render template to help us render our template, HTML, and then request. Right, perfect. Then let's initialize our app. Then I'm going to initialize the app with app, then Flask, and this is going to be the name, right? Very simple. Then let's create our route. So this is going to be our route. It's going to be my app.route, and we're creating our base route. Then let's specify it as our index page. Then this is going to return, so return render template, which in this case we call it as index.html. So we're creating this particular page later. So I'll go back again to the last one. Let's close the app to run. So we're using the if main and then app.run. So let's set debug is equal to true, and then we can also, that is the most important thing, right? Very simple. So let's use reload. Let's set use reloader to true. Perfect, right? So this is the basic understanding. So you're initializing an app with this option here, and you're creating a simple route. Very simple. So that is all that we need for now. Now let's create our index.html file. So I'll go back again to my template. I'm going to create my index.html file inside my template folder. So let's call that one as my index.html, and let's create a simple boilerplate. Then let's call it as my hash identifier ml app, and then let's create my div. We'll be using Bootstrap later on in the future, so let's start writing some simple Bootstrap h2. Then let's call it as hash identifier ml app. Right, very simple. So that is the basic understanding. So let's run this particular app that we have built. So I'm going to close the initial app that we're building. So the simple workflow of the app is that we are going to have a part of the app to receive test, which is going to be the form. Then we'll be using Flask as our web framework to do the backend and the front end. Then we'll be having our machine learning model and then our name.hash package to process the test coming in our processing layer. Then we're going to return the result back to our Flask app. So let's go back again and stop the initial app. I'll come back here, the same place the app is. I'm going to run the app. So Python 3app.py. So you're opening a new app and you're going to copy this one. So copy the link. Then I'm going to paste it here. So this is the old one, so I'll close it and I'm going to open the new one. So we see that the test here, hash identifier ML app, has come. This is the same test that was found here, right? Hash identifier ML app. That is the basics about working with it. So let me position it well. Perfect. Now let's see how to create a form in which we can use to receive input from the user. So let's call this one as my div. Then let's call this one as my form. So for the form is going to take in my test area. And then this test area is going to pick the name. That is the most important thing. So this name is whatever I'm going to be typed here is going to be attached to this name. So let's call it as hash value. Perfect, right? And we need to create a button. So I'll create a button with a type of submit to submit. And let's call this one as submit. Then I'm also going to create another button to clear the result. So button. And the type here is going to be reset. Then let's call this one as clear. To clear whatever it is inside there. Right, so let's save it. Now if I save it back and I refresh it, you're going to see that we have our form here, right? Perfect. So you can see the form output here. So if I type in a test here, hello, and I click on the clear, the test is gone. So that means that the clear is working. So is the submit. Now we need a place of whatever I typed here will be attached to this particular name here. But we have to send it to the backend, which is the app.py. So let's see how to work with this. So I come down here, I'm going to create my method. So we have two methods, we have get and we have post. So it is recommended to use post for security. Then I'm also going to go from here and specify the action, not the asset but action. So let's specify this action here is going to be the route I am sending to, which I'll be creating later. So let's see this one and go back and create the route. So whatever I type here, right, will be attached to the hash value, the name hash value, sent via post to this particular route. So you have to create this route. So I'll come back to my backend and then I'm going to create my route. So it's going to be my app.route. Then this is the new version of Flash, so you can also do some interesting stuff, right? So I can just go back again and I can specify the predict, right, route. Then let's call the name as it predict. Perfect. Then this particular option here is going to take in a method. So the method is going to take in a get request and a post request. So I'm going to say if that particular request, so if I send something, I'm requesting it. So I'm going to use a request model coming from here, then the request function here to receive whatever I type here. Right, so if the request dot method is equal to post, right, then I want you to go to this particular form, this form here, right, and pick any part of the form that is having the name hash value, right? So I'll go back here. I'm going to say, okay, let's equate that on as hash value. It's going to be my request dot form. Then I'll pick any part of the form called hash value, right? And then anything from that I can now return. So let's return that particular result, right? So whatever that is going to come, I'm now going to return the result. So let's return it. So return render template. So the most important thing here now is we have seen how to get the results from the front end. Now let's see how to send a result to the front end, right? So from the front end to the back end, from the back end to the front end. So this is going to be my index.html file. Then I'm going to send it there. So hash value is equal to hash value. Perfect. So this is the result, right? The original result that is coming. So I'm going to send this one. To be able to see it, I have to go back to the front part of the app. Then let's create another one. So I'm going to create a horizontal bar. I'm going to create a simple div. Let's put inside the container. Then let's put it there. So to be able to get your Python function inside the HTML, you need to use Ginger. So Ginger is the bridge between them, and it goes with this double curly bracket, and I'm going to pass in the hash value. So this hash value is coming from here, right, which is referred to this particular form here. So let's check it and see. So I'll save it, and I'll save this one here, and let's check it out. So let's type in original value. So p tag original data, so that we see that it is one there. I save it and I refresh it here, so you have the original data here, as you can see. Now let's paste in a test there. So hello, click on submit, it must appear here, right? So the reason it's not appearing here is because we are supposed to say that the view function for predict did not return a value response. The function either returned none or ended without a return statement. So that is because if I go back and I check here, so the return value is there's a problem with the return value. So I have to go back here and make sure that the return value is in the same location there, right? It's very important. So let's save it and rerun the app. Perfect, right? So now let's save it and rerun it again. So I'll come back again, rerun it. So let's paste in a particular test. So let's paste in our test, hello. If I click on submit, see that the word hello has come back. Right, you can see the word hello has come back, right? So that is how to send data from the front end, right, to the back end, and then back again to the front end. So once you're able to do that, you are done. You can build any form of Flask app, right, to be able to receive data from the front end to the back end and back end to the front end. So to receive data from the front end, you are using the form, which is this particular form. Then you must specify this particular variable. So anytime I type in something here, attach it to this particular variable name, hash value, send it via post to my route. So this particular route is a route here. So when it comes to the route, if it is post, I want you to go to the form and pick the hash value. So this hash value here is referring to this hash value here. Perfect. And then I can now return the result. Now let's do some processing. So we're trying to do some processing. So we'll be working on the machine learning aspect here. So let's import the packages. We'll be importing joblib, and let's also import OS to help us with opening our file. Then we will import, these are the main things that we import, right? Very simple. So let's create a function. We're creating two functions to help us with the model. So a function to load the model. So let's call it as def load model function. It's going to take the model file. Then this particular function is going to return my model, right? Which will be using joblib. So joblib dot load, right? And then I need to open the file. So open. So when I'm opening this particular file, and open takes in two arguments, and then the read byte, that is a particular file format. Then also going to take in the os.path.join, which in this case this is referring to the particular model file. Perfect. Then whatever the result is returned, I want you to return that particular model. So that is a basic understanding behind it. So this is a simple function to load our model. Let's work on another function for name.hash. Right, so name.hash comes as a CLI and as an API. So to work with the API option, just go with this. So from name.hash, we need to import runner. Right, so the runner is going to be giving us an access to the API interface. So let's create a function called identify with name.hash. Then this is going to take in a simple variable called hash. Let's call it as my hash test. You can give it any name. Then I'm going to pass this hash test must be in a list, right? So I'll call it as my output, which is going to be the runner coming from name.hash.api. Then return hashes. We can return the hashes as a JSON or as a dictionary. So let's return it as a dictionary and pass in this one. So this particular stuff must always be in the format of a list. So hash test. Then now I can return the output. So we have gotten one function to work with the machine learning aspect for ML and another function for the name.hash, right? Very simple. So let's go back to our models folder and paste in the model file. I'll go back to the model folder. It's empty. I'm going to paste in my model here, right? So that's the model we'll be using. So I'll just go back again. Because if I go back, we have the model file. So let's create a constant to load the model. I'm going to call this particular variable my hash classifier. I always make it capital to make sure that it is different from the rest. Then I'll just go with my load model function and I'll pass in my model. So inside my models folder, I have my variable, right? So this particular file here. So inside the models folder, we have this option here. So it's a pipeline, and it's an ML pipeline consisting of the estimator, logistic regression, and the count vectorizer, and it was built on this particular days, right? Although we are in 2022, yeah, I built it some time ago. Perfect. So let's go back and see how to use the machine learning model which I've loaded inside our app. So I'll come down here to this particular place, and then I'm going to work on the machine learning aspect. So let's create our prediction. Now I'll use the hash classifier dot predict, and I'll pass it inside my array my hash value. Then I also need to get the prediction probability, so predict proba. Then this is going to be my hash classifier dot predict proba. Then I'll pass in the hash value. Perfect. That is all, right? So we have gotten two aspects, so the prediction and the probability. I also want to get the name.hash, so name.hash. So the result is going to be my name.hash result. I'm going to go back again and specify that, okay, use a function called identify with hash, and I'm going to pass in my name.hash value, or the hash value. Perfect. So we have gotten our prediction, we have gotten our prediction probability. We also need to get, we have gotten our name.hash result. So let's send all of them to the front end. So it's going to be my prediction is equal to prediction, then my predict proba. Let's not add that one, but let's send the name.hash first. So name.hash result. I have to create these particular variables I've created in the front end using the same approach here. So I can just go back again, create another HR to separate it from the rest, and let's call this one as my prediction. So using Ginger, I'm going to pass in the prediction here, right? Perfect. This prediction is coming as an array, so I will just put in 0 here to make it as a test, right? Then for the name.hash value, so let's create that one also here. So let's call this one as result from, so result name.hash, and then this, let's take this one off and call this one as the result, right? So name.hash, so name.hash result. That is all, right? So this is going to give us the result for name.hash, and then the one for the prediction. Perfect. So let's check it out. So I'll just come back again to the front end. If I rerun it, let's go back. Rerun it, you see that we have the prediction and the result name.hash, right? Perfect. So let's paste in our value and see whether it's going to work. Sometimes if it doesn't work, that means that you're supposed to restart it and reload the backend again. So I'm going to paste in some hash value, right? And I'll click on submit. Now we're able to get the original result, but we did not get the prediction. So the reason is we have to restart the app. If I go back, it did not see the changes, right? It's the first one that is running. So I'll stop this one and I'll rerun it again. So cd into my document, flags, cd into hash. Then I need to restart it again. So exit from here. To avoid this one, you can also use flags export, right? Then Python app.py. So in case you have any question or contribution, you can put inside the comment section below, and check the description section for some interesting materials on how to build machine learning web apps, so how to work with Streamlit, NLP, and the rest. Right. So just coming back again, if I go back and I refresh the app, so let's refresh it. Right. So let's paste in the results, the hash, and now we're going to have the original result and the prediction MD5, right? That means everything is working, and you can see the results coming from name.hash. Very wonderful, right? Very cool. So you have seen how to embed machine learning models into your Flask app in a very simple way. So to recap, before we add the beautification to it, you just have to, first of all, to recap, all you need is that first you need to import your packages, you initialize your app, then you create your functions to load your model, and that function to work with your name.hash, and then you load the model, right, using joblib. Then you create your main route, which is going to be the first part, and then your prediction route, right, which is going to do the processing. Very simple. And then you must have a form, which is this particular form, and whatever you type here will be attached to this name, send via post to this particular route. Right. So this route, you can also do it like this: URL for any of them is going to work, right? So you can either use this or this approach or the previous one. Any of them is going to work. If you are using this approach, this is no more going to be the route. This is going to be this particular function, right? So that's why sometimes it's recommended that you name the functions the same, so that in case you use URL for, it's still going to work. Perfect. And then whatever the person types is going to be sent forward to the backend, going to be accepted by the form, then processed by our machine learning model. Right. Now let's get the prediction probability as a dictionary. So let's work on that. So to get that as a dictionary, let's go back with this. So probabilities. Then I'm going to go back again. I'm going to create a dictionary. So dictionary zip. I want to get the hash class dot classes, right? Dot classes, and then I also need to get the prediction proba. So predict proba has 0, right? Perfect. So this is going to create a dictionary, mapping them together well, and now I can return the probabilities too. So in order to predict probability, I have to return it here. So probability first. So let's make this probability empty. Perfect. It's an empty dictionary, and I'll return the probability again here. So let's return it here again. Probability. Probabilities to go to probabilities, and I must send this particular variable to my front end here. We have the prediction, and I also want to get the probability. Probabilities. So this is going to be my probabilities, right? Perfect. So let's put a line break under. So now if I go back, we need to be able to work on this refreshing. So there we have a prediction probability. It's empty right at the start. So let's check it out. I'm going to check with my hash value. Come back to the app. I'll paste in this hash. If it doesn't work, let me see. I'm supposed to restart again. Voila, and you see that we could get the prediction MD5 together with the probabilities, right? A very nice format. So let me expand it so that I can see. So we had the probability MD5 together with the result here, and then the name.hash result, right? Very simple. Now this is okay. This is a basic app. So let's make it beautiful by adding some MD5 Bootstrap to it, right? So I'm going to save this one, the old one. I'll copy this one and save it as basic so that you can have it, and then I'll copy the one with the modification. So basic 80 basic index, right? Perfect. And I'll go back and I'll copy the modified with CSS and then bootstraps. Perfect. So I've pasted it here, right? Very nice. So this is going to be available so that I can check. We are just using Bootstrap. Then I'll come back here. So let's say ML app, right? And then I'll come back to the app. So if I refresh this one, let's go back, refresh it. It's going to change. It's giving us an error because of the changes you have made in it. Right, so predict hash. So you have to go back and change it. As I said, if you change this one here, your predict, it must be the same name as the one here, right? So let's modify that one. That's why it gives us that error. So go back here to the form, and you must change this one from this to predict, right? So if I go back and I rerun it, now everything is working, right? So it must always comply. So very simple, very simple. So everything works. So let me paste inside a hash value. So let me copy my hash from here, go back to the app. You want to see if it's working, and as you see, you can see this is a table and this is another table. So we have to, this may fail because we have not positioned it well, but let's see if the first one works. So let's click on submit. It's able to return the result. It would give us the result and the prediction, but the table did not work because it failed. So you have to modify the table, right? So let's see how to work with it. So I come back here and I'll work on that. So the table that is coming, the result that is coming as a dictionary. So what I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it as my ID result, right? The one that is coming from here. So let's make it like this. So copy this one and change this one to this, right? It's coming as a dictionary. Then I'm going to use the NT result, which is going to be this option. So it's going to be my J. So for I in my ID result dot values, it's like a dictionary, I want to get everything. And for J in I, right? So this is going to return a proper dictionary. So if I come back to the app itself, copy this one, let's refresh. So the purpose, how the refreshing is very simple. You just go back to the route, the original route. So let's paste it here, submit. Wow, so I've gotten our result well, right? Perfect. So that is a basic overview of it. That is the basic overview. For the table, we just had to loop through it using this particular option. Let me show you. So we just come back here. So for this is a different format of the Ginger, and then we're going to pass it through this particular option and then close it with N4. Very simple. So thank you for watching this tutorial. In case you have any question or contribution, you can just put inside the comment section below, and see you in the next session, and check the link below for some more. See you. Bye. Have a wonderful new year 2022. Yeah.